There's a rule in my family: the red candles of life and death must remain lit throughout the night. I'm not as beautiful as my sister, and I always carry the scent of ointment because I have to rush home every day to tend to the candles. My classmates mockingly call me the candle girl. That day, the man who had been following my sister forced his way into our home with ill intentions, and I threw him into the corpse pool. My sister sighed softly and said, "Let's use him for the next human candle." My sister and I have relied on each other since childhood, living in our family's old house. From as far back as I can remember, there was a rule in our house: the twin candles in the basement must remain lit all night, never allowed to go out for even a moment. I was the one responsible for lighting and tending to the candles. Every day, aside from going to school, I would stay in the basement keeping watch over those two perpetually burning candles. My sister was different, fair-skinned and beautiful, with a slender waist and long legs. She was the center of attention at school. Even with a weird and burdensome sister like me, her popularity remains high. As for me, my face is merely passable, and because I always carry a nauseating greasy smell, everyone avoids me. My sister is average in academics but very active in club activities, often staying out until late at night. I'm different. I have to rush home right after school every day without a minute to spare. Someone once kindly invited me to a gathering, but without exception, I declined them all. There are no friends in my life, only my sister and the candles in the old house. Because of my eccentric personality, people at school always mocked and teased me, calling me the candle girl. They said, "What era is this now? Only you still cling to these strange traditions. You must be out of your mind." They don't understand. The life and death candle must never be extinguished. If it goes out, 100 ghosts will emerge, bringing devastation to the living. I was often bullied at school, and today was no different. Some boys blocked my way, mocking me again. "Candle girl, are you going back to light candles again? Does your family own a candle shop? No wonder you always smell like wax." Songhui waved his hand in front of his nose, looking disgusted. "It stinks." The boys around him burst into laughter, as if something amusing had happened. I stared at him expressionlessly, wondering how someone like him could have gotten into university. Perhaps my indifference provoked him, because Song Hui reached out and grabbed my shoulder. "Why don't you take us to see what's so special about your family's candles today, since you have to go back and guard them every day? Don't tell me you're not actually going back to light candles. Is there a man hidden at home?" The men's laughter rose and fell, as spreading rumors about women was their greatest delight. "Song Hui, stop talking nonsense." I turned to look behind me and saw Zhao Kazhang walking over with a stack of books in his arms. He was our class monitor, an upright and outstanding person who always came to my rescue. "Zhao Kazhang, who do you think you are, playing the hero? You'd even stoop to defend a candle girl." Song Hui had connections with local troublemakers and had always been lawless at school, never showing Zhao Kazhang any respect. After cursing at Zhao Kazhang, he rubbed his hands together, his face twisted in disgust. "What the hell is this? So disgusting." A layer of glistening oil shimmered on his hand, left behind from when he had touched my shoulder moments ago. He brought his hand to his nose and sniffed. "Ugh, it stinks so bad." "Zhou Qi, what's on you?" I looked at him coldly. "Wax." "What else could it be, you filthy thing? Today I'll cleanse you properly." Song Hui reached out to grab my outer garment, but Zhao Kazhang quickly intervened. As the two struggled, they suddenly caught sight of my sister approaching from the opposite side and immediately froze. My sister was the school's undisputed beauty queen, the kind every man dreamed of getting close to, even Song Hui, despite his constant bullying of me. As my sister walked over, she wore her usual smile, flawless as ever. Not even seeing me being bullied could ruffle her composure. Zhou Xian, I was just joking with your sister." Song Hui awkwardly patted my shoulder with an embarrassed laugh, worried he might have angered the goddess in his heart. "It's fine, Chi won't mind." My elder sister looked down at me, her voice gentle. "Hurry home now. Someone needs to watch over the candles." I responded in a low voice and quickly walked away. As I left, I heard Song Hui still chatting up my sister, Zhou Xian. "Beauty, we're planning a party this week. You must grace us with your presence." The corner of my mouth curled into a cold smirk, looking for death. On Saturday, my sister got up early to put on makeup and dress up, wearing a low-cut halter dress with red lips and big wavy hair. She looked at herself in the mirror with satisfaction, then turned her gaze to me standing behind her, dressed in all black, looking dull and greasy. "Do I look good?" I forced a smile. "Yes, you look beautiful." "The most beautiful, sis." My sister turned and walked over, not minding at all the greasy ointment covering me, and held me in her arms. "Our Chi-Chi has worked hard." I stayed quietly in my sister's embrace, not reaching out to hug her, afraid of dirtying her dress. With a smile, my sister tossed her wavy hair and asked, "How's the life-death candle coming along?" I glanced back at the basement. Its darkness faintly illuminated by the light. "It's good, but it's almost burned out." My sister nodded. "Yes, there hasn't been any noise lately. The life-death candle produces noise as it burns, so the basement in our home is well soundproofed. Even though the old house is in a remote location, we still worry about disturbing passers-by." My sister patted my head and said, "The new life-death candles will arrive soon." I watched my sister leave, then turned and went back to the basement. My sister returned in the middle of the night, her footsteps unsteady, sounding like she had drunk quite a bit. Just as I emerged from the basement, I heard another set of footsteps. "Song, Song Hui." My sister's surprised voice rang out in the darkness, followed by the rustling sound of fabric rubbing together. "Zhou Xian, your home is quite remote, but that's perfect." I heard the sound of my sister struggling to push him away. "How did you know where I live?" Song Hui's laughter was thick with malice. "Of course I followed you all the way." "Stop struggling. You're clearly a slut, so quit pretending to be pure. Every day, you're either at this party or that event, all dolled up. You must have been passed around by plenty of men. What's one more? Please don't." "My sister is still here." My sister's voice was helpless and fragile, only fueling the man's darker impulses. "That's perfect. I don't mind her. I'd like to try having two people." Banged. Song Hui had just managed to tear off my sister's outer clothes by instinct when I knocked him out in the darkness. "Ah, why are you so quick?" My sister, who had seemed weak, pitiful, and helpless just moments ago, blinked her eyes lazily. There wasn't a trace of fear in her voice. I was speechless, still so playful. My sister pouted. "I'm just bored. We only hunt once a month. And I haven't even seen the look of fear in the prey's eyes yet." Dragging Song Hui by one leg toward the basement, I said, "You'll get to see it for a whole month. Hurry up, it'll be a while before we turn them into human candles." Song Hui woke up from the pain, only to find himself tied to a wooden stake in a spread-eagle position. He seemed to be in a basement, with a strong smell of blood and ointment in the air. There was also a foul odor, like that of burnt candles, but it was much more pungent than what he was used to smelling. The pain came in waves, as if being subjected to a slow and torturous death. He struggled with all his might, but his hands and feet were tightly bound, completely naked. His body bore numerous knife wounds. By the dim light of a distant fire, he could see that the place he was in was unbelievably vast. Beside him was a pool, about half the size of a swimming pool, dark and murky, with something indistinct floating and sinking within. On the other side, there seemed to be a bronze door, flanked by two thick red candles as wide as a person's waist. From a distance, it was hard to see clearly, but they appeared to have burned down to their bases. "Help! Help!" Instinctive fear made Song Hui scream. In pain and terror, he struggled desperately. "Don't move." I leaned out from the darkness, somewhat displeased as I looked at the wound bleeding from the struggle. "Zhou Qi, what are you doing here? What did you do to me?" Song Hui's expression was as fierce as if he wanted to devour someone, the anger upon seeing me momentarily overpowering his fear. "This is my home." I twirled the paper-thin knife in my hand. "The question you should be asking is why you're here." Song Hui was momentarily confused before remembering what had happened earlier. He had set up a scheme to get Zhou Xian to attend the party, got her drunk, and followed her home. He was knocked out before he could even lay a hand on her. "Where is Zhou Xian? Tell her to come out and face me." I stepped forward, grabbed Song Hui by the hair, and, amid his screams, cut a neat, circular wound into his scalp. "You bitch, you lunatic, what are you trying to do? The police will find me, you two crazy women." I tilted my head, watching Song Hui with blood streaming down his face. "No way. Didn't you tell your buddies you'd find a place to deal with my sister? Who would know where you went? You've drugged and raped multiple girls. Even underage ones. Last year, you accidentally killed a girl during one of your assaults. Why would the police go to great lengths for scum like you? Song Hui, don't you think you deserve to die? Perhaps it was the calmness in my tone, or maybe the eeriness of the place. But Song Hui finally became afraid. Shou Qi, I beg you, let me go. It was my fault before. If you let me go, I swear I'll never dare to do it again. The air filled with the stench of urine as Song Hui lost control out of fear. I looked at Song Hui, his face covered in blood and tears, continuously pleading, and sighed. It's too late. The fact that you've entered my nether mansion means you've been chosen to become the new human candle. The blood from the wound on Song Hui's head quickly spread across his body, and seeing the moment was right, I untied him, seizing the opportunity. Song Hui threw a punch at me, in his eyes. I was no different from the innocent girls he had assaulted, someone who could only submit to male violence, but his fist seemed to hit solid rock, and with a crack, it went limp and dropped. Song Hui let out a scream of pain. Frowning, I shook my head and muttered, so unruly. After saying that, I threw him into the nearby pool. Song Hui was immediately submerged as soon as he entered, causing the pool to ripple violently. It took quite a while before he resurfaced. Only his head was above the water, while his entire body remained submerged. He seemed as if he had been paralyzed, motionless in the pool, with nothing but sheer terror written all over his face. It looked like he was scared to death. How's it going? I turned my head to see my sister already changed into black clothes identical to mine, her wavy long hair tied up, standing by my side. Not bad. After soaking in the blood pool for 3 days, you'll become a new human candle. Song Hui let out a strange wail upon seeing my sister, but being engulfed by the blood pool, he couldn't even utter a complete sentence. Song Hui, your sins are grave, haunted by the underworld. Today, you'll be made into a living dead candle to guard the ghost gate for a month. This is partial repayment of your karmic debt. Song Hui was soaking in a pool filled with human blood and fat, the stench of corpses and the greasy odor of human fat assaulting his nostrils. Upon hearing his sister's words, his eyes rolled back, and he fainted. How useless. His sister shook her head. If I didn't know that those chosen to be human death candles can only die after burning out completely, I'd suspect they'd all be scared to death at this stage. I calculated the time it would take for Song Hui to be fully encased in human fat, but my heart was heavy with worry. There's still one candle left, and now it's completely missing. Only when both the candles of life and death remain lit can the nether mansion and the ghost gate be secured. Sister frowned. Only the most wicked can enter this nether mansion. From recent encounters, there are indeed wrongdoers, but there's still not enough to be made into human candles. Don't worry, there are still 10 days left. My sister turned and went upstairs to rest. She goes out every day to look for suitable candidates to be human candles, and it's exhausting. I turned back to guard the bronze gate. The old human candles on either side were already more than half burned, and upon closer inspection, you could see they had reached the kneecaps. The flames remained warm, emitting a foul, fishy stench. Behind me, Song Hui's terrified wails continued, but I was quite used to it. He must soak in the blood pool for 3 days until the wounds I cut are filled with human blood, his entire body encased and solidified in human fat, transforming into the perfect fuel for a human candle. Only then can he be lit to guard the gate. That is when the noise becomes unbearable, as the fat poured directly into the scalp wounds begins to burn, causing excruciating pain. The screams often persist until the flames reach below the head before finally ceasing. By my estimate, such noisy days will last for over half a month. Early on Sunday morning, my sister came down to the basement. She had been woken up by a phone call. I just extinguished the human candle. Song Hui in the blood pool had long since screamed his throat raw and was now semi-conscious. He didn't need food or water. After 3 days, his body would be saturated with grease and fat from the inside out, enough to keep him burning for a month while also ensuring his vital signs remained stable. The police are onto us. My sister yawned and cast a disgusted glance at Song Hui. Who'd have thought trash like him would actually be missed by someone? I stretched lazily. He's still wanted for several cases. His sudden disappearance is bound to raise suspicion. Let's go to the police station. The underworld mansion is protected by a secret technique cast by my sister. Unless someone is truly wicked and evil, they can't see this house or enter this ghost gate. When my sister and I arrived at the police station, Xiao Kazhang was already there. As Song Hui's class monitor, he was also called to the school. He saw me and quickly walked over. Shou Qi, are you okay? I took a slight step back, afraid the smell on me would bother him. I'm fine. Xiao Kazhang has always been very kind and considerate to me, even though I often have the greasy, nauseating smell of ointment on me. He never looked down on me and would even speak up to stop others when they made fun of me, strangely enough. While everyone else revolved around my sister, Xiao Kazhang paid more attention to me, though I never told anyone. I actually quite liked Xiao Kazhang. Don't worry, it's just routine, just tell the truth. When my sister and I were called away, I could still feel Xiao Kazhang's gaze following behind me. You're saying that Song Hui did indeed follow you when you left the party last night? The question came from a square-faced policeman, whose dignified appearance and faint white glow around his forehead marked him as a man of integrity. Yes, I wasn't feeling well after drinking a bit yesterday, so I left early. Song Hui offered to see me home, but I refused. My sister sat upright, her radiant face showing a trace of unease. Song Hui was unwilling and even got handsy with me. I had to run for a long time before I finally shook him off. My sister patted her chest and said, "Thank goodness I got rid of him. Who knows what might have happened otherwise?" With tears welling up in her eyes, my sister looked so pitiful that any man would be moved, but the square-faced officer didn't. He comforted my sister with a few words. "He's one of our key surveillance targets. Yesterday, he told his friends he would follow you home with ill intentions. We tracked the surveillance footage all the way to the southern suburbs where he was indeed following you. Later, because the suburbs are a mixed and complicated area with incomplete surveillance coverage, we lost track of him. We will increase police presence in the southern suburbs, but we hope Miss Zhou will cooperate. We'd like to visit your home." I had been sitting quietly on the side without saying a word, but upon hearing this, I frowned. My sister is the victim. It's good that she's unharmed now, but you still suspect her. I was at home all day yesterday and didn't see any Song Hui or Li Hui come in. I stay at home every day, and you can ask anyone at the school about this. The square-faced policeman looked at me gently. I understand what you mean. We just want to make sure the criminals haven't slipped away, so we hope you'll cooperate. All right, Chi-Chi, the police have a point. My sister spoke softly. It's just that the two of us have been orphaned since childhood. With only an old house in the southern suburbs, the place is a bit messy. The square-faced policeman's eyes showed a hint of pity as he nodded. Don't worry, we're just going to take a look. It's also to ensure your safety. Upon hearing that they were going to our home, Xiao Kazhang was also indignant. In the end, he insisted on going along as the class monitor, saying it was his responsibility to us. My sister and I exchanged puzzled glances. We had put on an act to ease the policeman's suspicions, but ordinary victims would naturally be upset upon hearing the police doubt them. They must have investigated us sisters and knew that my sister was good-tempered, while I was somewhat stubborn. But what is Xiao Kazhang doing? Is he really worried about me? The five of us arrived at the old house in a police car. Seeing that lonely two-story detached house, everyone in the car fell silent. Xiao Kazhang had heard about my sisters and my family's circumstances, but he never expected them to be so dire. There wasn't even a convenience store within 500 meters, and at night, it was no different from a haunted house. The two policemen were even more surprised. Why is there a lone house standing here? Wasn't it demolished back then? The elder sister smiled and replied, "At the time, we hesitated because it was our parents' house. In the end, the developer went bankrupt, and the entire southern suburb was left abandoned." The policeman sighed. "It's too dangerous for you two girls to live here. If anything happens, there's no one around to help." The elder sister smiled and said, "Very few people come around here anyway. My sister and I are used to it." The police car stopped in front of the old house. I opened the gate to let them in, and the strong smell of ointment inside made both officers wrinkle their noses. Our family used to be in the candle-making business. After our parents passed away, my sister and I carried on the tradition. Mostly, it's just neighbors who come to buy some. The officers nodded, walked around the house, and found nothing. "What's this? A basement?" The square-faced policeman looked at me and said, "Open it and take a look." With a cold expression, I opened the basement door, and an even stronger smell of grease rushed out. It was pitch black below. Forcing the officer to turn on his flashlight, no lights. I maintained my dark and stubborn persona, saying, "No, this is where we worship the candle god." The two officers had clearly heard the school's rumors and speculations about me being the candle girl. They exchanged a glance before cautiously descending. The flashlight's visibility was poor. I led the way, with the officers and Zhao Kezhang following behind me, while my sister stayed above. After circling the basement, the police found only a wax pool filled with discarded candles and a small stone altar beside it, enshrining an unfamiliar deity. "That's the candle god," the police officer nodded. Although they don't advocate feudal superstitions, my sister's background was pitiable, and they also knew that folk artisans often worship their founding masters. "These two candles are enormous." The square-faced officer glanced at the mostly burned candles placed beside the candle god statue. "The intact ones must be as tall as a person." I nodded and spoke more when the topic turned to candles. "Pretty much, these are for worshipping the candle god. One can burn for a month, and it must stay lit every night without going out." I glanced at Zhao Kezhang. Though it was dark, I could see he didn't seem interested in the candles. He was still looking at me. I lowered my head slightly. "Usually, it's me who keeps watch." The policeman looked understanding, probably realizing why rumors said I always rushed home after class, always carrying the scent of ointment. I could tell they wanted to say something to persuade me but didn't know how to start, perhaps thinking I regarded candle keeping as a way to honor my loved ones. Indeed, nothing unusual. "Let's head back up." The two officers began walking back, completely unaware that a man covered in blood and oil was soaking in the pool just a meter away from them. The man's throat was clogged with ointment, yet he still managed to let out a hoarse, desperate scream, faintly uttering words like, "Help me." That was Song Hui, the one they were searching for. I found it irritating to listen to. The entire mansion was concealed by illusionary techniques. Even if they stepped right on Song Hui's head, they wouldn't notice anything amiss. Still, this guy's vitality is astonishing. Most people would be half dead after soaking in a blood pool for a day. The human candles he made must be very long-lasting. The police gave us repeated instructions before leaving, and Zhao Kezhang left with them. But he didn't seem too eager to go. Looking at me, he asked, "Can I stay for dinner?" My sister leaned against the door, smiling without a word, while I kept a cold face, feeling somewhat flustered inside. "There's no food at home." Zhao Kezhang gave an awkward smile. As the top student in class, he usually maintained a cool demeanor, but this smile made him look a bit silly. "Then tomorrow, shall we meet at school tomorrow?" I nodded. "See you at school." I closed the door, shutting Zhao Kezhang out. "Chi-Chi, it seems the class monitor really likes you," my sister teased. "You should go out and enjoy the world a little. It's such a shame for you to be guarding the gates of hell every day." I lowered my eyes. "No, human hearts are too complicated." My sister sighed and said no more. Song Hui's death went unnoticed at school. He was just a scumbag, and many people were glad to see him gone. However, when word got out that my sister and I had been called in for police questioning, new rumors about me started circulating. But Zhao Kezhang shut down all those rumors, saying he'd been to my house too and never saw any of that nonsense. Thus, the school rumors changed, becoming a story of ambiguous relations between the candle girl and the top student. Zhao Kezhang didn't clarify this time, but I found myself growing increasingly uncertain. Zhao Kezhang began openly showing me kindness, sending me gifts, buying me milk tea, saving me seats in class, and even inviting me to the library. Zhao Kezhang was handsome, modest, and outstanding. It was hard not to be moved. On the day I agreed to go on a cafe date with him, I washed off the greasy scent of ointment from my body and put on the new clothes that had been gathering dust for ages. No one could tell I had any connection to the greasy candle girl from before, with reddened eyes. My sister looked at me and said, "So beautiful, Chi-Chi is so beautiful." My sister gave me all her makeup. She took off her long dress and put on the black clothes and pants I had worn for years, becoming the new candle girl. The basement had been noisy these past 2 days. Song Hui was already prepared, replacing one of the nearly burnt-out human candles, fixed beside the bronze ghost gate. The freshly lit human candles are the most annoying. Their wails and screams can last for days, sounds that would give anyone nightmares. Then the wails turn into painful moans, accompanied by prayers for death, murmuring like the irritating buzz of flies. I feel somewhat guilty. this is the hardest time, yet I let my sister take over for me. My sister straightened my dress. Chi-Chi has been guarding the candles for too long. It's time to go out and see the world. My sister playfully blinked her eyes. Just don't forget to enjoy love while keeping an eye out for new human candles. I naturally understand. If we can't find a new human candle, my sister and I will have to move the bronze ghost gate to another place with heavier energy until we find the next suitable human candle. Neither my sister nor I want to relocate. Adapting to a new identity and environment takes a long time. And setting up the bronze ghost gate is also quite laborious. I'll keep an eye out. The internet jokingly says, hell is empty, all the devils are here, but my sister and I know it's the truth. This haunted mansion has crafted far too many human candles, child rapists, gang rapists, those who traffic women to remote mountains, those who force others into prostitution or amputate limbs to make beggars. Too many scumbags from the blood pool have been wrapped into human candles. Wailing miserably before the bronze ghost gate, my sister and I have seen too much. And we're not worried about finding the next suitable person. I appeared at the cafe, and the men around couldn't help but glance my way. Xiao Kazhang was also stunned. He seemed not to have expected that when I put effort into my appearance, I could be so beautiful, no less stunning than my sister. Flustered, his face turned red, and under his sincere gaze, I lowered my head. Xiao Kazhang and I got together. I told him I had missed out on too much of college life before and now wanted to truly enjoy it, to experience club gatherings and let loose. I thought Xiao Kazhang would be angry, but he agreed, saying he would protect me. That didn't matter much. If I really found the target, I could always find a way to avoid Xiao Kazhang and bring the person back. The only thing was, my transformation caused a sensation at school. No one could have imagined that the candle girl they used to mock and ridicule would suddenly turn into a stunning beauty. Meanwhile, her school-belle sister seemed to suddenly dim, becoming ordinary, greasy, and emitting a strange odor. The nickname, Candle Girl, remained, but now it was directed at her sister. I didn't step in to help, just as my sister never helped me before. Among these people was our target. We needed to determine just how evil they were and whether they met the criteria for becoming human candles. I had only been with Xiao Kazhang for a few days when he suggested going to my place. Naturally, I refused. My home is far and remote. Why go there? We can just go to a hotel. I laughed enticingly in Xiao Kazhang's arms, but he remained insistent. Xiao Kazhang and I had a fight. I went to a party alone but came back empty-handed, though still in high spirits. It was already the early hours of the morning, and the streets were quiet, yet I felt someone following me. I let out a long sigh of relief in my heart. It seemed there was material coming to my doorstep of its own accord. I returned to the house and waited quietly. Before long, someone opened the gate and crept inside on tiptoe. The door of the old house was easy to open, just a piece of wire would do the trick. After all, unless we sisters brought someone in, only the most wicked could enter this underworld abode. If it weren't for fear of scaring away the prey, the gate of this house could be left wide open at any time. I waited in the darkness for the prey to walk into the trap. But when I saw that figure clearly, I froze completely. That person was Xiao Kazhang. I watched as Xiao Kazhang quietly closed the door, a secretive smile appearing on his face. That was a smile I had never seen on his face before, but it wasn't unfamiliar to me. 9 out of 10 human candles in my basement would show such a smile when they thought they were about to succeed, a smile like a cat playing with a mouse, mocking and malicious. I still can't quite believe it. But the fact that Xiao Kazhang could appear in the ENC mansion speaks volumes in itself. At the very least, he's definitely not the cold, justice-driven top student I thought he was. Xiao Kazhang glanced around in the darkness but didn't see me. Holding a phone in his hand, he lowered his voice and said, "Everyone, today's performance will absolutely be the most thrilling one yet. Today's subjects are a pair of sisters I've just scouted. They live in a remote area with no relatives. What's even better is that they're sisters. You've all seen the photos and videos. Both are stunning beauties, and playing with them will be absolutely delightful. The account is now open. Everyone can start transferring money. The viewing ticket is 50,000, and the 2 highest bidders can decide how to play. I'll go restrain them first. The answer will be revealed in 10 minutes. After speaking, Xiao Kazhang put away his phone. He pulled out a spray from his pocket. It was obvious it contained some kind of knockout drug. Xiao Kazhang could only make out a rough outline in the darkness, but I could clearly see the excitement and greed in his eyes. What is terror? Is it terrifying to turn a living person into a candle? But that was never a human to begin with. It was a demon wearing human skin. With a creak, the basement door opened, and Xiao Kazhang, somewhat excited, tightened his grip on the spray and walked toward it. He saw his sister standing at the door, puzzled as to why she wasn't showing the terrified, despairing expression he had imagined, nor screaming. His sister looked at him calmly, even with a hint of amusement. Before he could raise the spray, I struck him down with a swift chop to the neck, knocking him unconscious. I pulled out the phone from his pocket, which displayed a dark web URL. In the upper right corner was a reward amount, already exceeding 7 figures. When Xiao Kazhang woke up, he found himself tied to the same pillar Song Hui had once been bound to. The difference was that he hadn't been woken by pain, he was woken by noise. Song Hui was at the peak of agony and clamor, his screams like those of a tormented soul in hell, jolting Xiao Kazhang awake. What's going on here? Xiao Kazhang stared at the scene before him, unable to believe his eyes. He had been to the basement before. It definitely didn't look like this. He turned his head and saw Song Hui, who had been screaming incessantly beside him. The man looked like an insect trapped in wax, covered in blood yet unable to move, but the fixed face bore 2 bulging eyes, its expression twisted and ferocious, with incessant screams piercing the air, and atop his head was a massive gash, the blood and hair encased in wax, now burning. Xiao Kazhang could smell the stench of charred flesh and the acrid odor of burning blood. He suddenly realized that the greasy, lingering scent that had clung to me for years was this very same foul stench. He began to retch, trembling in overwhelming fear. Kiki, sweetheart Kiki, what are you doing? Isn't this Song Hui? Didn't you say his disappearance had nothing to do with you? I sat across from him, ignoring his words. He saw his sister wiping the thin little knife with a handkerchief and looked at me in terror. Baby, what are you going to do to me? I was just worried about you going home alone. So I came to see you back. Aren't we lovers? Xiao Kazhang's voice was filled with sorrow and deep affection, even his eyes brimming with tears. I love you so much, Chi-Chi. How could you bear to hurt me? I have to admit, Xiao Kazhang's appearance and acting skills are truly impressive. If I hadn't seen him enter the Yin mansion with my own eyes, would have been completely fooled by him. Finally, I raised my head and shook the phone in my hand. Lover? Who exactly are you calling your lover? These 12 women you auctioned off on the dark web and brutally murdered. When Xiao Kazhang was unconscious, I checked his phone. There was a hidden platform on his phone, the dark web he had just used for live streaming. The dark web is a lawless place where you can buy anything if you have the money. Xiao Kazhang was involved in dark web business, with his outstanding knowledge and appearance. He deceived many women. There are records of transactions with at least 12 that can be verified so far. Most of them were people he met while traveling outside the province or participating in competitions. Xiao Kazhang would live stream the entire process, offering the initial, hunting phase for free to attract customers' attention. He typically spent about a week making the women let their guard down and even develop feelings for him. Xiao Kazhang's methods were quite sophisticated. And combined with his appearance, he succeeded 8 out of 10 times. Once the girls let their guard down, he would invite them to a specific location. The dark web's operations were flourishing everywhere, with secret bases in every region. As a veteran of the dark web, Xiao Kazhang naturally knew about them. These places were hidden and remote, allowing them to evade both other people and police searches. To some extent, the place he found was quite similar to the underworld mansion. After bringing these girls to the hideout, what awaited them was not the tender caresses and intimacy of a lover, but unimaginable terror and despair. Xiao Kazhang would auction them off on the dark web. Generally, the final execution process required payment, and at this point, clients who had watched his earlier pursuits were often willing to pay this entry fee, and in the end, the fate of these girls is determined by the highest bidder. Xiao Kazhang would do his best to fulfill every demand they made. No matter how perverse, bloody, or inhumane, the imagination, it would all be realized on these poor and innocent girls. According to the records, as long as the price is high enough, these men are even willing to do it themselves, freely venting their emotions on these girls. Even I couldn't bear to watch the recorded live streams. Zhao Kazhang's face finally changed as he looked at the phone in my hand. His expression one of furious embarrassment at having his dark secret exposed. That's my phone. What right do you have to look at it? Besides, do you really think they were good people? What decent girl would follow a stranger wherever he says after just a few days of knowing him? They brought this upon themselves. It's all their own fault. I watched as Zhao Kazhang spewed reckless insults, using vicious words to mask his guilt. Blame them. They trusted you, believed in their own feelings. Even if their sincerity couldn't be reciprocated, they didn't deserve to be murdered for it. The only things they lacked were good judgment and luck. At this point, I suddenly smiled. But the same goes for me. After living so long, I still can't read people's hearts. Zhao Kazhang's curses abruptly stopped as he looked at me with fear. What do you mean? What kind of people are you? I watched as my sister walked over and handed me the knife. I would personally make Zhao Kazhang into this human candle. Slowly, I cut open his skin under his terrified gaze, blood streaming down along the knife's path. I cut deep enough to see the crimson muscle fibers and the thin layer of yellow fat. Zhao Kazhang's figure is well proportioned, not like Song Hui who has so much excess fat. I feel a slight regret, but as long as one soaks in the corpse oil pool long enough, a good human candle can always be made. My sister tied the ropes well, and the cuts were deep enough that the blood didn't flow too quickly. I took one last look at Zhao Kazhang's unrecognizable face and whispered softly in his ear, "It's being live-streamed the whole time, and the donations are pouring in. You'd better put on a good show." Zhao Kazhang's eyes, originally filled with pain, finally turned frenzied. His agony and despair had become entertainment for others, a psychological torment beyond endurance. "You're insane. Stop. Someone will call the police, and they'll find you." I laughed. "Who do you expect to call the police for you? Your audience. In your previous 12 live streams, did anyone ever call? The remains of those girls still haven't been found, have they?" Zhao Kazhang shed murky tears. "Please, let me go. You loved me once, didn't you? We were in love. Spare me." I glanced at his face, no longer handsome, and threw him into the corpse oil pool. "Those girls must have said the same to you before they died." I stayed in the basement with Zhao Kazhang for the 3 days he was in the corpse oil pool. I felt somewhat defeated, always trusting those I shouldn't have. My sister and I have guarded the Bronze Ghost Gate for 100 years. We've seen too much of humanity's ugliness, yet we never seem to learn. Watching Zhao Kazhang submerged in the corpse oil pool, I sat by the edge, hugging my knees. He was still begging for mercy, interspersed with curses, but his voice was muffled by the corpse oil covering his mouth and nose. "I really did like you. I thought you were the kind of gentle, chivalrous man with a sense of justice. The world is in dire need of men like this. Unfortunately, I still misjudged, but you also misjudged, actually targeting us sisters as your prey. Didn't you ask me what my sister and I really are? We are candle ghosts who have lived for 1,000 years. After a millennium of cultivation, we became spirits. Back then, my sister and I loved to wander among humans. We too have read those storybooks about the romances between scholars and spirits. We yearned for them, and we even played along foolishly. Only later did we realize those books were all lies, designed mainly to deceive women, down-and-out scholars and noble ladies, struggling talents and affectionate spirits. I chuckled lightly. It's just men's own fantasies. Yet they use it to persuade and mislead naive women. How many women's lives have been ruined this way? My sister and I were luckier. Such tactics couldn't kill us, they only angered us. Back then, we did some foolish things and got involved in karma we shouldn't have touched. I sighed, recalling the storm of blood and fury I had stirred in my rage back then. Later, we were scattered by a Taoist priest and became a ghostly marriage. It's just a pity that my sister's 1,000 years of cultivation were lost, and she only did wrong because she was deceived. There was still a reason behind it. We weren't scattered, but we must atone for the sins we've committed. My gaze turned toward the Bronze Ghost Gate, where Song Hui beside it had already lost his mind, only moaning unconsciously. We were sent to guard the Ghost Gate. The yin energy there is too strong. Only my sister and I in our true forms can suppress it. But we discovered that using wicked people smeared with corpse oil to make human candles works much better at guarding the gate than my sister and I. Such great evil in you people actually outweighs the yin energy of spirits and monsters like us, truly defies the natural order. My sister and I have always taken turns. One guards the candles while the other gathers materials for the human candles. It's been this way for 100 years, how laughable it is. For so long. The human candles before the bronze ghost gate have never ceased. We've never been short of wicked people to serve as those candles. I let out a long sigh, thinking of the old Taoist's dying request. The peaceful world he wanted to protect is no longer what it once was. Often, I find myself wondering, am I guarding this ghost gate in the human realm or the underworld? I can't help but feel that the demons in the human world far outnumber those I've seen in the ghost realm. The day Zhao Kazhang was turned into a human candle, I shut down the dark web live stream. Although we didn't follow the method suggested by the paying clients to torture him this time, everyone was thoroughly satisfied. They found Zhao Kazhang's fate both bizarre and terrifying, which greatly satisfied their morbid interests. These people didn't care at all that the person screaming in agony as he was made into a human candle was the previous streamer. To them, it could have been anyone. As long as it was bloody enough, I noted down these people's website addresses. Even ghosts need to keep up with the times. My sister and I could use these URLs to track them down. However, after we erased the live stream records of the human candle making process, we anonymously delivered the phone to the police station. The police immediately followed the leads and found the remains of the 12 women. This incident caused a huge uproar online. And the dark web was severely cracked down on, vanishing without a trace. Everyone is cursing Zhao Kazhang, this demon in human skin, thinking he fled after his crimes were exposed, and wishing him a terrible death. As I watched Zhao Kazhang screaming in agony, his face contorted in pain yet unable to move, I think this must count as a terrible death. Such torment will continue for him for another month. The police found a large number of my secretly taken photos in Zhao Kazhang's phone. At the time, Zhao Kazhang thought I was introverted, timid, and an orphan, an easy target. Zhao Kazhang understood women's psychology well, knowing that a little warmth could move a girl when she was vulnerable, and I was his perfect target. To some extent, his judgment was correct. That's why the police came to the school to look for me and my sister right away, Zhou Xian and Zhou Qi. The department head looked at the police officer and said, "Those two kids took a leave of absence a couple of days ago, claiming they weren't feeling well." The square-faced officer, worried that Zhao Kazhang might succeed, fortunately remembered the address from their last visit and immediately led the team to the southern suburbs. The sound of police sirens echoed through the southern suburbs as everyone got out of the vehicles and stood in place. "Captain, are you really sure this is the place?" A young police officer looked puzzled, while the square-faced officer frowned. "It can't be wrong, this is definitely the place. I even marked the spot on the map back then." But the young officer stared at the empty field before him, where only wild grass grew. "There's nothing here at all."